Hello, hello, folks. Welcome to the Deep Fried Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jack Fry, and thanks for listening. Well, this weekend was pretty crazy football, but mostly because of Thursday night, where the Browns beat the Steelers 21-7, and we'll talk about that later. The Jets beat the Redskins, the Colts beat the Jaguars, Bills got back on the winning track and beat the Dolphins, Cowboys took care of the Lions in Detroit, Ravens thwomped the Texans 41-7. Falcons whooped down the Panthers. All of a sudden, Atlanta showed up to play. Too bad they didn't start that week 3. Saints beat the Buccaneers. Vikings beat the Broncos. 49ers held on to beat the Cardinals, and that was a great game. Patriots beat the Eagles. Raiders beat the Bengals and become 6-4. Rams beat the Bears. And of course, last night in Mexico City, the Kansas City Chiefs took out the Chargers 24-17. That game would have been a lot closer if Phillip Rivers hadn't just thrown all those interceptions. Not sure what's going on with him. Is his career over? It would be nice to see if the Chargers can get Cam Newton down there in Los Angeles. He would fit in perfectly in LA. He has said that he's open to a trade. I see him going to either Chicago or San Diego. Both would be very fun. Both need a quarterback moving into the future. Trubisky ain't doing much up in Chicago, and Phillip Rivers looks like he's at the end over there in Los Angeles. But let me get to this.
4 passes defensed, and now a sack.
Yeah, he'll be the AFC Defensive Player of the Week.
You're giving it to him right now.
I am.
Here's a flag as...
Whoa! Hello.
Whoa!
Yeah,
Mason Rudolph got into
needs
it.
to get out of there.
What in the world? Believe Myles Garrett?
There'll
They're
be
swinging a helmet?
Yeah, there'll be some ejections.
We have to start with the Steelers-Browns brawl from last night. The Browns got the win, but it ended in ugly fashion. Up 21-7 with 14 seconds left. Steelers quarterback Mason Rudolph was driven to the ground by Myles Garrett after a pass. Now, Rudolph looked like he attempted to rip Garrett's helmet off while on the ground. Garrett retaliated by pulling Rudolph's helmet off and hitting him over the head with it. Garrett was among 3 players to get ejected from the brawl. After the game, players weighed in on the chaos. Take a listen.
I didn't see why it started, but it's inexcusable. I don't care, rivalry or not. We can't do that. That's kind of the history of what's been going on here lately, hurting yourself, and that's just endangering the other team. That's inexcusable. He knows that. I hope he does now. It's tough. We'll see.
I thought it was pretty cowardly, kind of pretty bush league, which, there's plenty of tape out there to watch. I haven't seen it replayed, but yes, I really haven't seen anything like that yet.
You see somebody rip the helmet off your quarterback's head. What's your reaction to that?
You seen it? Blacked out. It was bigger than football. Protection.
It's almost like a weapon.
I mean, hell, you could have killed him. What if you hit him in the temple? Now, let's be serious.
That was first Baker Mayfield, then it was Mason Rudolph, followed by Maurkice Pouncey, the center for the Steelers. And you heard him. He said this is bigger than football. He could have killed him. My initial reaction to this is horror and then disgust. I cannot believe one player took the helmet of another player and swung it at him. After my initial horror and disgust, my heart sank because I thought about all the kids watching this game. How long until this trickles down into college, into high school football, all the way down into Pop Warner where these kids are learning the game? They saw this. Are they going to start swinging helmets at each other in the middle of games now? My initial reaction said, get him out of football for good. The NFL needs to set an example so that the kids don't think this is acceptable. He received 6 games, which is the rest of this season, and any games that the Browns would make the playoffs, he wouldn't be allowed to play in. Personally, I don't like that suspension. I think it should be the rest of this season and 10 games next year. So he misses a full season of games, 16 games for this act. That's my opinion in the very least. So hopefully this 6-game suspension that he got isn't just all that he gets. We know the Browns aren't making the playoffs unless they go on some sort of crazy run. What was the point of all this? Let's try and remove all bias and emotion away from the situation. What are the facts? What did we see on national television Thursday night? With 8 seconds left in a game that's decided, in a play that doesn't even matter, the defensive player, Myles Garrett, came through on a screen pass, unblocked, unabated to the quarterback, got a hold of Mason Rudolph, and took him down to the ground in a way that was completely unnecessary to the situation. It seemed to me that he was giving it to him in a way that says disrespect. Mason Rudolph started defending himself. Maybe he hooked Myles Garrett's helmet a little bit. Completely understandable in the situation. Shouldn't have done it, but emotions go high when you're being tackled to the ground and held down by a man much larger than you. Who knows what's being said down there? Myles Garrett feels his helmet being pulled, loses his SHIT, and pulls Mason Rudolph's helmet straight off. He's lifting Mason off the ground with every tug of that face mask. 3 tugs and he rips it off and he's backing up. Mason Rudolph loses his mind and goes back because he doesn't want to take something like this. He doesn't want to be bullied like this. And he goes back towards Myles Garrett while he's being held by an offensive lineman, and Myles swings an overhead tomahawk chop with the helmet and hits Mason Rudolph in the head. Okay, he's so lucky he wasn't holding that face mask upside down and hit Mason with the crown of the helmet in the head, or we'd be having a very different conversation right now. Would he be knocked out? Would he be killed? That is the act, the swinging of the helmet that everyone saw and everyone knows you cannot do that. And then, after Mason Rudolph walks away from the situation or backs up, he raises his hands in the air after getting hit by the helmet. Thank goodness it didn't hurt him. Defensive end Larry Ogunjobi cheap shot him in the back after he was clubbed in the head by a helmet. Really, dude? You're completely away from the play and you're pushing this quarterback down? That's a cheap shot. That was Bush League. And that was sad. How embarrassing. I couldn't believe that happened. And Pouncey was losing his mind. He said he blacked out. Your quarterback was just hit over the head with his own helmet. You protected him. Nice job, Pouncey, getting the player back for what he did. That's what happens. That's human nature. That's protection mode. Pouncey got 3 games for that act, and I'm sure he will appeal. I'm guessing it'll go down to 2. Anybody would have done that, but of course you can't condone kicking, so anytime a kick comes out, a suspension comes out, that's for sure. The whole thing is just ridiculous. And you know, the Browns lead the league in penalties and ejections. Earlier in the night, one of their players was ejected for a helmet-to-helmet shot. He hit Deontay Johnson, and when Johnson went over to the tent, I swear I saw blood coming out of his ears. I love football and the physical nature of it, don't get me wrong. But holy cow, is this getting crazy? Is violence spilling into the NFL too much? These questions are the reason why the NFL has to do something extreme. The punishment has to fit the crime. Skip Bayless said we have never seen an act like this before, so we should definitely see a suspension we've never seen before. That makes total sense to me. 16 games. He got 6 plus the playoffs if they make it. Maybe they add something on for next year to remind everybody what happened, and nobody's ever going to forget that. But I hope so. And it was just sad. You know, I'm sad for the NFL. This thing that I love is tainted. Because, look, this is headline news on CNN. The NFL does not want that. I am very, very upset about what it has done to the game. And for the most part, it's the trickle-down effect into the future of our game with our young people that breaks my heart the most. You can't do this when you are a celebrity in the spotlight, which these players are, especially a superstar like Myles Garrett. I kind of feel bad for him. He said he blacked out too, but you got to drop that helmet. You got to let go of that thing. You can't hold on to it. You got to get rid of it so nothing happens. You got to be smart, and the punishment has to fit the crime. But Myles Garrett's done for the year. I will say this. In the heat of the moment, I understand losing your mind, doing something that you didn't want to do if you had your mind in a good place. So let's forgive Myles Garrett for what happened. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. From what I hear and what's been reported, he's a good guy. He does have quite a lot of late hit penalties, but he did have a statement and an apology that he publicly made. Quote, "Last night, I made a terrible mistake. I lost my cool, and what I did was selfish and unacceptable. I know that we are all responsible for our actions, and I can only prove my true character through my actions moving forward. I want to apologize to Mason Rudolph, my teammates, our entire organization, our fans, and to the NFL. I know I have to be accountable for what happened. Learn from my mistake, and I fully intend to do so." End quote. So he's remorseful. This whole situation is messed up, and the only reason why it's a big deal is because it was on national television. Everybody still loves football. Everybody's still going to watch. It's not going to change the ratings. In fact, it might even raise them up because people who wouldn't normally watch might tune in for something more like this. Like, hockey fans who just watched the hockey game for the fights. Anyhow, folks, thanks for listening. I do appreciate it. Huge game this Thursday night. Colts at the Texans. That is a big division matchup. We also have Raiders going for 7-4 against the Jets to try to keep pace with the Chiefs. Panthers are playing the Saints. Panthers have fallen back a little bit. Not as big a game as if they had kept winning and stayed on that roll, but if they can beat the Saints, that's a pretty big deal. I like the Eagles and Seahawks game. That one will be fun to tune into. Cowboys are playing in New England against the Patriots. That should be huge. The Niners are at home against the Packers on Sunday night. That will be entertaining. I still think Sunday night has been the best package this year. And Monday night will be the Ravens at the Rams, which should also be a pretty good game. And we'll see how that goes. I believe the Ravens will win. God, they look good. Thanks, folks. Please subscribe to my channel and share it with your buddies. Music has been provided by Ben Sounds. Ho, Ben! I love your sounds. They're fantastic. Thank you. Goodbye.